Hey everyone, and welcome to the 45th episode of the Liam McCollum Show. Today's interview was with Chris Enget, a Purple Heart recipient who served in Afghanistan in 2012. He's the Concerned Veterans for America Grassroots Engagement Director in Billings, Montana, and I brought him on to talk about House Joint Resolution 9 that passed a couple days ago through the Montana legislature. This interview was recorded on April 21st, and the resolution passed on the 20th. I also wrote an article on this resolution that was featured in antiwar.com and the Libertarian Institute, so I'll link to that there. But remember to go subscribe to me on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Now here's Chris. All right, well, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Liam?
Good. Do you want to just introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, my name is Chris Enget. I live in Billings, Montana. I'm an Army veteran. I served in Afghanistan in 2012. I was with the 44th Military Police Company. We were tasked with training the Afghan police. And so we did that. And on June 26th of 2012, we'd been in country for 6 days, and I got hit by an RPG. I'm kind of stubborn, and so I stayed in Afghanistan for the next 5 months, walking around on a bum leg until I got to the point that I almost couldn't walk anymore. And they sent me home, and I didn't want to leave because at that point there was a drawdown in troops. And if I left Afghanistan at that point and went to Germany for treatment, then I wouldn't go back to my people there in Afghanistan. And I didn't want to leave them. I trained with them, and I wanted to complete the mission. And so I stayed for as long as I could. And when I came home, I had multiple reconstructive surgeries to correct the issues. I was in a wheelchair for a little while and had to walk with a cane for several years before I was able to walk normally, or somewhat normally again. And I enjoyed the military. That was going to be my life career path. That's what I was going to do for the rest of my life until I retired, and there was other plans in motion. So,
and now you're with CVA.
Correct, yeah. And so I get to continue that mission. I get to continue to fight for those freedoms that I fought for in the service. And the mission of CVA is to break down barriers that prevent veterans from realizing their full potential. And we do that through the political process. So we pushed the Mission Act back in 2013. Which allows veterans to receive care outside of the VA. I don't know if you remember the Phoenix VA scandal that came out back in 2014. They called them the death lists. If you haven't looked into it at all, it's a real deal. And veterans were put on this list. They were terminal, and they couldn't take care of all of the patients that they had. So they kind of got put at the back of the line. And veterans actually started dying on these lists. And then people started getting on board with the Mission Act that, okay, there's a problem. We need to fix this. And CVA pushed the Mission Act and got that passed in 2017 to allow veterans to have care outside of the VA if the VA can't handle how many veterans there are. And it also provides accountability for the VA as well. CVA's goal is to break down those barriers for veterans to receive the care that they need, to have a foreign policy that uses our military in the way that it's designed and is supposed to be used.
Yeah, and currently, yesterday actually, Montana Senate, pushed by CVA, they passed House Joint Resolution 9, calling on the national government to end endless wars. And I do want to get into that, but before that, I just want to dive into your deployment, and maybe do you have a story explaining how you became maybe disenchanted with American foreign policy, or how you became, or how you got to the position you're at today?
Yeah. So in 2012, I was hit by the RPG, and like I had said, it was my career path was the military. That's all I had a mind to do. I had no other plans outside of the military. And so when I was medically discharged, I was lost. And I found different ways to try to continue that. I was a commander of an American Legion post here in Montana for 2 years. So I tried to continue to live in that brotherhood for as long as I could. But then 2019 rolled around, and I was looking at the statistics for veteran suicide rates. And I saw that the VA pushed out a new number for veteran suicide rates, and it's at 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. It's no longer 22 veterans a day. And I thought, well, maybe something with the VA is working. And I started looking into that report, and I realized they pulled the numbers for all DoD soldiers and veterans that are still actively serving, whether in the National Guard, reserves, or active duty military. All of those numbers were pulled out of that report. And when you go to the DoD website and you look at those numbers on the DoD and you add them up together, we're still at 22 veterans a day. And I saw that, to me, that looked like number manipulation. And it infuriated me that they're manipulating these suicide numbers to make themselves look like they're doing something right. And I was angry. And so I started getting into trying to create a nonprofit here in Billings that would help veterans get care through other avenues outside of the VA. And there's so many different programs around the state for veterans to receive mental health care that they need. And there's chiropractors around town that have plans and programs for veterans. And I just wanted to put all of those in one place to get veterans the care that they needed. And I started working on putting that together. At the same time, I was trying to run my own business. And another gentleman came in. His name is Blake Furman. He's a former Ranger, and he started this organization here in Billings called the Veterans Navigation Network. And all the stuff that I was trying to do, he was already in the process of doing as well. So I just handed off all the stuff that I had and said, here, you got the 501c3 that you need. You have your group of directors and you have all that stuff. Here's all the work that I've put together. I want to see this work. And so I started getting more involved in not necessarily the political process, but how can we help veterans find fulfillment in life outside of the military? Because their identity gets so wrapped up in being a soldier or being a Marine or a sailor or an airman, that when they no longer have that, their identity is taken away from them, they struggle. And so how can we give that back to them in different ways? And then COVID hit, and I lost my business because of all the regulations and all the top-down solutions to supposedly help with this pandemic. I had to shut my business down. And that's when during that process of shutting my business down, I got connected with Concerned Veterans for America. And they're like, we need help in the Billings area, pushing some of these policies and getting a community built down there. Is that something you'd want to do? And I said, absolutely. I want to get people together that want to help fix the problem, not just apply a Band-Aid and not just try to find outside solutions. Because if we don't fix the core problem, the problem is going to stay there no matter what.
Is there a community here now? How successful have you been?
Yeah, we have a community that meets every week here in Billings of some pretty core leaders that want to be more involved. They're continuously bringing more people in that want to be involved. We have a rally that's happening next week. We're continuing to grow. And it just, there's some times during COVID where it slowed way down and people weren't wanting to meet, but we found ways to meet through Zoom, and we had a successful operation, making phone calls, ending endless wars and stuff like that with these volunteers of people that want to make a difference.
Yeah, and you definitely have made a difference. If yesterday was a testament to that, you helped write House Joint Resolution 9. Do you want to explain what it was?
Yeah, so we found the core of what we wanted from a West Virginia resolution that they were trying to push, and so we pulled that from their website and we restructured it to fit Montana and Montana values. We want to make sure that it fit with us. It's not, we don't want this to be a one size fits all resolution. We want it to fit every single state that decides that they're gonna push a resolution like this as well. And so we worked with our policy and legal team to craft this document that fit Montana, that people would want to support, and that tells our congressional delegation what's important to us as Montanans, especially in light of our veteran population. We have the third highest capita of veterans in the nation.
And what does it specifically call on the national government to do?
So it calls on President Biden to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan. It calls on Congress to repeal the 2002 authorization for use of military force. We're not against war. We're not against conflict. If the president sees a threat and the threat needs to be responded to, then absolutely he has the authority to respond to those threats. But we need to have more oversight into what we're doing around the globe. And having open-ended authorizations is not the answer. And so we want to have authorizations that feature a geographic location, that feature a mission and a scope of what we're trying to accomplish, and that also have a sunset clause. So once we've reached that mission, we can look back at it and go, okay, did we accomplish the mission? Or if we didn't accomplish the mission, how do we need to restructure this to ensure that we are going to accomplish the mission or accomplish whatever we're trying to do? And if it's not possible, then bring our troops home. Yeah. And right now, we don't have that with any of our authorizations. The current authorization for Iraq that keeps our troops in Iraq was signed in 1991. And so I was 3 years old when that authorization was signed. And Congress has the ability, even if Biden or Trump or whoever is president sends troops where Congress doesn't think they should go, they have the authority to not appropriate that war.
Right.
That's their job, and they can stop it dead in its tracks by just not appropriating it.
Yeah.
But they appropriate wherever the troops are, and and the narrative that gets pushed is that if they don't appropriate, then they don't support the troops. And we've not a CVA, but as veterans as a whole, we've pushed this narrative for a very long time. Just because you don't agree with the wars in the Middle East doesn't mean you can't support our soldiers and you can't support our veterans. You can do both. And it's the same thing with appropriations. You can support our military and not appropriate a war that's wrong.
Right.
And I think not appropriating it is actually supporting our troops, because you're not putting them in harm's way for pointless reasons.
Yeah. And then, so Montana is the first state to pass a resolution of this kind, but is this expected to go through West Virginia then?
Yeah, West Virginia is expected to go through. Florida's pushing one as well. Colorado has one as well. So we have other states that are starting to model theirs after ours, where this isn't going to just be a one-off where Montana says that enough's enough. We have other states that are following suit across the nation, and we have to continue to support them. A lot of people see a resolution as a letter to Santa, and if the resolution is signed and it doesn't go anywhere and nobody does anything with it, then absolutely it's a letter to Santa, and it doesn't accomplish anything. But we have a grassroots organization that's in multiple states that are going to continue to use this resolution to create pressure on our congressional delegation, to let them know that, hey, we're watching, we're paying attention, we've had enough.
And do you think that our current delegation in Montana will they move in that direction? What's their history like?
Absolutely. Yeah, Senator Daines, Representative Rosendale, and Senator Tester are all fairly supportive of withdrawing our troops from Afghanistan. And so we just want to continue to keep that pressure so they don't change their viewpoint or change their opinion on what we should do. They should continue to follow what the people of Montana want them to vote on. And the people of Montana have spoken very almost unanimously that we want our troops home.
Yeah, because this passed 47-2 in the Senate. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, 47-2 on third reading in the Senate, and it passed 95-3 in the House.
Wow. And the objections have just been that it's a letter to Santa, or there's some people who actually think that the executive should have this authority? So
that's the main opponent's viewpoint, is that it's a letter to Santa and it's not going to accomplish anything. Some of the other things that we've heard is that it's going to limit the president's power to respond to threats, and that's not the case. I mean, the article, the Constitution is clear that the president has the authority to respond to threats, but it's the responsibility of Congress to keep that up. If the threat is still there, it's up to Congress to take control of that situation afterwards, and provide that oversight. We can't just have the president sending our troops willy-nilly across the globe. That's not what our military is designed for.
Yeah, and then about a week ago, President Biden announced that he was going to delay the withdrawal. I think the original was May 1st, and then now this withdrawal will be September 11th. What is your personal opinion of that?
So the original withdrawal date was set for May 1st. The Trump administration reached an agreement with the Taliban and with the country of Afghanistan to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan on May 1st. And President Biden has one of the things that I really am enjoying about this is that he's not just pushing out a never-ending time frame. He's not just saying that I disagree with this withdrawal time frame, so we're just going to push it back, but we don't know when we're going to bring our troops home. He's actually set a date for himself that this is when we're going to bring our troops home. So I'm supportive of the fact that he does want to bring them home and that he has placed a date on that. And so we're going to continue to provide the pressure that we need to make sure that he maintains that date and that he does bring our troops home. And we're not going to let him forget that that's the date. And so that's my hope, and that's what I want to see, is that he's actually going to follow through with the September 11th withdrawal date.
Yeah, and when I talked to you personally, you noted that the Taliban hadn't killed a single American soldier since the Doha Agreement.
Correct.
Do you expect it to still be a thing under Biden?
No, the Taliban has come out and said that there will be more attacks on troops if we stay past the May 1st date. And so when that happens, we'll it'll be addressed the way it needs to be addressed. I hope that that's not something that perpetuates the cycle of, well, they attacked us, so we need to stay there longer. I hope that that's not going to be the narrative. And it's certainly not the narrative that we're going to push, that because there's more attacks, we need to stay there longer. We need to keep the withdrawal time frame of September 11th that President Biden has set, and we need to keep pushing for that. We can't let the pressure up. We gotta let him know that we're behind him in this in this withdrawal of bringing our troops home.
Yeah, and then Concerned Veterans shares the same belief, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So is this pretty representative of the overall veteran community? Do they share in your belief, do you think?
Yeah, so the latest polling says 67% of veterans believe that we need to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan, that we completed the original intent of the invasion, which was to decimate the Al-Qaeda, to take care of the Taliban for harboring Al-Qaeda, and to get bin Laden. And we've accomplished all three of those missions. And so most veterans, 2/3 of veterans have said that they agree with withdrawal from Afghanistan, and 80% of Montanans at large, 80% of Americans at large believe that we need to bring our troops home.
Wow. Yeah, and then just before we let you go, what is Concerned Vets' future goals? Like, what do they want to do next?
So withdrawing our troops just from Afghanistan is a very lofty step towards our future goal of a foreign policy that's based in realism and restraint. Mm-hmm. So when we go into conflicts, we need to first look at it. Is it realistic to be involved in this? Is that where American resources need to be used? And then if it is realistic for us to be there, then there needs to be some restraint. We can't just send our military in to accomplish whatever the mission is. We have to try other avenues first, whether that's trade, whether that's diplomacy, whatever that looks like. And the military needs to be a last resort. And if we can shift our foreign policy viewpoint more to this realism and restraint, then we won't have troops in 159 other countries. Right now, we're in 160 countries around the globe. And so withdrawing from one country isn't solving the problem. Fixing our foreign policy is gonna solve that problem. And so we're going to continue working on the realm of foreign policy, but we're also going to start working this year on continue the mission, which is that mission act that I talked about earlier. It's continuing that mission to continue to provide oversight to the Veterans Administration to make sure that they're getting veterans the care that they need in a timely fashion. During the COVID crisis, there was 19.7 million VA appointments that were canceled just during the pandemic alone. And many of those appointments haven't been rescheduled. So we want to make sure that the VA is going to get those rescheduled, whether it's with the VA or using some of the care in the community programs to get them the care outside of the VA if that's what's required. So we're going to continue to put pressure on the Veterans Administration to make sure that they continue the mission.
Was the VA accepting COVID-19 appointments, or why were they delaying appointments?
A lot of it was because they weren't accepting appointments during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
And a lot of the hospitals outside of the VA weren't as well. So we just want to make sure that the VA picks up the slack, however that needs to happen, whether it's through the VA or outside the VA, that flag gets picked up and those veterans receive the care that they've earned, and the care that they were promised. It's not just that they earned it; they were promised that they were going to get that care.
Yeah.
And so we got to make sure that they continue to get that.
Yeah. And then if you just want to tell people how they can get involved with Concerned Vets, please do. And then if there's anything else you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to our website at cv4a.org. We have a lot of our stuff on there. What we're starting to work on in the next couple of months is going to be on there. What we're currently working on is going to be on that website as well. If you want to know more, how you can be more involved with ending endless wars, you can text "Bring Them Home" to 46262. And then it'll send a link directly to your phone that you can go to, and you can become more involved in that process as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you very much, Liam. I appreciate your time.
Yep. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
It's the weekend, we can let go. It's the full send, it's the get-go. It's the get-go.